Now, one of my favorite areas with woodworking and router work is to do string inlay and banding inlay. And it's a perfect way to jazz up any project. Just a simple aspect of putting a 1/16 inch wide string around a drawer front can really make your furniture pop. So we're going to look at a couple different ways to do it that are extremely easy, and you could do it with any router that you have at home. So let's take a look first at our router bits. Right here on the table I have two 1/16 inch router bits. This one has a 1/4 inch shaft to it and a 1/16 of an inch. Notice how small the cutting surface is. To use this bit I got to get right down into the wood. If you look at this, this is also a 1/16 inch cutter and it's got a lot more length to it, so I can plunge that down a little deeper from a higher area and still get into the wood, even though we're only going to get into the wood about a 1/16 of an inch anyway. The difference on this one is this has an 1/8 inch shank. Now, your routers don't come with 1/8 inch shanks, they come with 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch. So you have to find a way to adjust and get that built up. The easiest method is this other piece that's right here. That is just an extension that goes on, and the 1/8 inch bit slides right down into that extension, and then you load that bit into your router and everything works fine. So because we're going to go right down on top of our wood, we're going to go ahead and use this bit first. Same thing as before, you want to put it in almost all the way down, bring it up so you've got a nice little area, and then tighten things up. All right, now the thing is we're not going to freehand this cut. You know, there's no way that you're going to be able to go just exactly at the same location all the way through. So we're going to do a little work on the router base. And here's what I've got. This is just a small piece of wood that I have two C-clamps holding it to my router base. Once I put the base onto the router, then the center of that bit is going to be a consistent distance away from that fence. And the way this works is the fence comes in, I'll plunge down in the cut and make my cut right along that edge, hitting my marks to stop and start. It's a real simple process and really easy to do. Now when I set that depth of cut, remember I said we only want to be about a 1/16 of an inch down. So your depth below the plate is only going to be about a 1/16 of an inch. Now, you can take the time to lay out your corners if you want. I'm not going to do that. I would do that if I was home to make sure I hit my marks exactly. I did put a mark up here. We're going to cut in about a 5/8 of an inch along this edge. So I put a stop down here so I could then turn and come up this edge and form a corner. And you can see what the whole effect of this string inlay is if you've not done it before. All right, so we're set up. Let's go ahead. I'm just going to plunge this cut, so I'm starting with it up off of the base, and I'm going to plunge down into the cut, and then I'm going to walk all the way to the other end. Now this is an area that you want to let the router bit come to a complete stop before you remove it. Otherwise, as you come out, you have a tendency to move a little bit. It'll mess up your inlay, and it's very easy to snap off that small bit. So you can see the line that we've got cut down. I'm right down to my mark. I'm going to take this and turn it around and hit the second side so we can just finish up and form one straight corner with the inlay. All right, now from here, if I have everything set up, I can plunge down right at that corner, and if your line is in the perfect spot, your bit will set right down in it. I'm a little shy, which it's better to be a little shy than it is to actually go past the mark. So I'm going to, again, plunge the cut and finish to the other side. Now you have to admit that's a pretty easy way to put the small slot that you need, and it's perfectly level with your end because we're riding right along that fence. One of the things that is difficult is it leaves a lot of dust and debris inside your line. So you need to find tools to help get that out. Compressed air is a good one. The small 6-inch ruler. A lot of guys will have used dental equipment, like dental picks, that make this a very easy operation. So once we get some of this cut out of here, we'll come back and I'll show you how the string fits in and everything looks great. So now that I've got the slot cut out and cleaned out, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the string inlay. Look, this is what we're talking about. You can buy this cut in 16th by 16th inch pieces or 16th by 8th inch pieces, or again, we have so much scrap in our shop, why not make your own? And you don't have to cut it right off of the table saw at a 16th of an inch. You can cut it a little thicker and then set a fence up at your spindle sander. Most people don't realize that they have a thickness sander in their shop. But if you have a spindle sander, set it up with a fence next to the spinning sanding drum and push this through. And as it goes through, it perfectly sizes down to exactly the thickness that you need. So once you have that done, you can spend some time getting this all set up to where you're going to put it in. And I miter the corners, and you want to get it to where it just pushes in with finger pressure. And after you get a few of these in, you go back, you add a little glue into it, and push the stringing in, and you've dead-on made stringing around your drawer. So it's a real simple process, and I'm going to show you another couple ways to do it, so hang tough. All right, so now we're going to up this a little bit and change things around. This is another way you can do the exact work we just did, but this involves a plunge base and a commercial made fence. And also, I've changed the router bit in here to a 1/4 inch spiral upcut, which is the same width as the piece of banding that we're going to actually inlay. So at this point, we're going to repeat the operation, but I want to show you a little trick on how to set this up so you don't get too deep a cut, because with this banding, it's only a certain width that you're actually going to put in the hole. So the first thing you want to do is set down on your work surface and zero out the router bit. So now I've got my bit touching my work surface, and I'm going to take this piece of inlay, which is the actual inlay I'm going to use, and I'm going to squeeze it right here in between my depth stop, and that sets the thickness that I need. Now I'm going to back off of that just a little bit because I want to make sure that we're cutting below, and that's where we're at. So now we're right back to where we were before. We're going to go ahead and back up. We're going to plunge down into the work surface and make a pass down through here, and then come back and show you how the inlay works. Now, if I was in the shop, I'd probably hit this just a little with sandpaper just to clean it up. But essentially, you're going to add glue in, and you're going to push this right down into that groove. And sometimes it takes a little bit of persuasion, but it generally fits right down into the slot. This is why it makes sense to make sure that you size your inlay directly to the size of your router bits. And there we go. A little bit of glue behind that, and everything's going to be perfect. So again, a perfect way to go through and add a little zing to your projects and bring your woodworking to the next level.